Skepticism can be used for defense and it can be used for growth. We can use skepticism to reinforce our beliefs, reinforce our current perception, reinforce our status quo, or we can use skepticism to open our minds, to open to new experiences, to investigate new things, and to actually make meaningful changes. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about the distinction between skepticism for defense versus skepticism for growth. So a lot of people like to weaponize skepticism. They like to be skeptical about that belief system and that set of ideas and that ideology, but they don't turn skepticism inwards on their own beliefs and their own sense-making process, which is a major error within their own psychology. So we actually have to learn to turn our skepticism inward. If you're using skepticism to just attack other people, you're using skepticism for defense. You're using it to just reinforce your egoic patterns, your sense of identity, your beliefs, your emotional patterns, everything that forms your sense of self and worldview. If you begin to turn it in on yourself, you begin to actually question your own patterns, question your own sense-making skills, you begin to question your own beliefs, question your own habits, and now you can actually really begin to change yourself. This is a powerful way to actually notice patterns inside of your own psyche and break free of them. I'm not saying you doubt yourself, that's very different. I'm saying that you begin to not see your current perspective as just what's true, as absolute. A lot of people confuse their perspective with reality, with what is true and what is just absolute, how the world works and what it is, which is a complete delusion. Your perspective is highly biased and completely filtered through the lens of your own personal survival and identity. When we actually turn skepticism inward, we become more aware of our own closed-mindedness. We become more aware of how dogmatic we can be about our beliefs. We become more aware of our own ideologies. And simply by becoming more aware of these tendencies and being honest about them, we can actually begin to change them. When we're closed-minded, when we're stuck within any particular ideological framework, whether it's a religious one, a political one, a scientific one, a philosophical one, whatever it is, when our mind is completely absorbed in it, we cannot actually explore reality properly anymore. We're too stuck within that particular framework. We're too stuck within that particular worldview, and we actually cannot explore reality properly. For example, a lot of people who are atheists probably will not go to an enlightened master and do a meditation retreat with them. Why? Because they're too closed and probably a bit too dogmatic to do that. They'll just say that's fake, nonsense, garbage. And a lot of religious people will probably be a bit too close-minded to investigate, let's say, other religions or other points of view, right? And I'm just throwing these examples out there. I don't have any hatred towards any of these people whatsoever. I'm just trying to give you some examples. Basically, if we want to look at this from a very big picture point of view, people who are too closed in their beliefs and their worldview cannot actually investigate reality properly because their mind is too closed, it's too fixed on things, it's too narrowly focused on a particular set of ideas, and it wants to defend that set of ideas because their ego is identified with it. They are identified with the ideology. Because they're identified with the ideology, when it gets questioned, they actually have a physiological survival response. Their heart beats faster, they get stressed, they get tense, like your body and your mind interpret it as a very personal attack. And really, I'm not trying to attack anyone in this video. That's not my goal whatsoever. I'm just trying to point out some underlying mechanics to human behavior and human psychology so that you can use them to free your mind of basically dogma and closed-mindedness and basically be able to explore reality properly and be open to radically new things and make breakthroughs in your own life and even for mankind as a species. So you need to have genuine curiosity about points of view that contradict your own. You have to have genuine curiosity about experiences, like people's experiences, and experiences that probably aren't within your paradigm, your idea of how reality works and what it is, and your sense of, normal reality, everyday reality. And the vast amount of experiences that exist would probably blow your mind and quite honestly would radically change your worldview. If you had like just more experience, right? More openness to ideas, more openness to, let's say, meditation retreats, and we'll just say like higher levels of consciousness too. If you actually had more openness to the full range of experience that exists, this would radically begin to change your mind. Like, would it not? We basically have a very limited amount of experience, a very limited amount of ideas, and a very limited amount of patterns and systems and habits. We get identified with them, and then we just defend it. We're like closing ourselves in on those things when a lot more exists. Basically, this happens in science quite a lot. Science will think that it knows reality, it has everything figured out, and then some new theory, some new invention, some new thing like just blows us away. This happened with genetics when we discovered epigenetics. This happened with Einstein's theory of relativity. This happened with quantum mechanics. This happened with germ theory. It just happens over and over and over again. This happened when we realized that the earth wasn't flat. So it's really important that we begin to open up to ideas that exist outside of our paradigm so that we are not fools. So we don't make these repeated mistakes of thinking we have everything figured out only to be debunked by something in the future. And this happens over and over and over again with humanity, and it's quite embarrassing, to be honest, that we keep falling into this same trap. Next is actually attempt to explore other perspectives. So go on a meditation retreat, travel to Peru, go to Thailand, read a book on a belief system that you don't agree with. Try and like really understand that other point of view. Try and leave as much of your point of view behind and jump into this next point of view, right? And I'm not saying that now you have to like, if you're a Christian, you have to be a Muslim or vice versa. I'm not saying that like you can't engage in your particular practices and your particular patterns. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is to just have more tolerance for the amount of things that exist and have more openness and intention to actually explore them. Basically, you want to build up a mind that is capable of viewing the world through many perspectives. Like, I've studied every major world religion, so I can understand Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism, Jainism, indigenous religions, and I've studied a lot of science as well. I can understand neuroscience, biology, chemistry, physics, psychology, and various branches of that as well, because I've decided to really open my mind up to these things. I can understand spirituality and meditation and consciousness, therapy, psychotherapy, coaching, shadow work, enlightenment and awakening, right? It's like I've investigated so many perspectives, conservative politics, liberal politics, the psychology of both, and it's like I can come to actually appreciate the amount of perspectives that exist and really begin to make sense of them in a meaningful and accurate way because I'm not ideological about any particular one, because my mind is not attached to any particular one. And what I'm advocating for is that you do the same if you're interested in that, because your mind will be able to investigate reality properly. You need openness in order to investigate reality properly. When you're closed and defensive, you're filtering reality through the lens of your own beliefs. When you're open, you're just open. It's like an innocent openness to life. You're able to take in new things, and you're basically less susceptible to getting your mind blown and debunked by new ideas and new theories, because you're going to be challenging your own theories. Basically, you're less susceptible to being proved wrong because you're not attached to any particular set of ideas. You can begin to see the limitations of every single framework. You can see the limitations of religion, spirituality, of science, of atheism, of conservative politics, of liberal politics. You can see the holes that exist within every single one of these worldviews, and you can begin to properly integrate them all and synthesize them. So when something comes along that blows the modern paradigm right out of the water, that's not really going to be a very big surprise to you, because you were already questioning it. You were already not attached to it. It was already obvious that, there were significant holes within modern science. There were significant holes within X, Y, and Z. So that's it for this video. I'm offering one-to-one coaching. You can book a free call. Link is in the description. Take it easy.